All right, well, we're getting set up to come to you with the second webinar from the Delphian School. And I think we're live here. Are we good, James? All set and ready to go? Okay, great. So welcome back to the Delphian School. One more in our series of webinars, which we're doing in connection with Heron Books through the great curriculum that we use here at the school. This is the second part of a webinar that I'm going to do today on character education, specifically the parts of life. The parts of life is what we're going to focus on today. This is going to be very exciting. I'm not going to lie to you. There's a few concepts that we're going to discuss, and I'm going to present to you that I think will not be too surprising to you, but they may take a little bit of work between both of us to make sure that you understand them. Yesterday, to remind you, you had a demonstration kit. I'm hoping you have one today, because we're going to do a few demonstrations, or you are, in your home, and you can use the kit. You could also use some live examples around you, as you'll see from the thing that I ask you to demonstrate. One more reminder is to make sure that you use the question and answer box, not the chat room, because that's disabled. So use your question and answer box to cover any assignments that I'm giving you, or if you have some important questions that you want to ask me about the material. So I'm hoping many of you that are signing up today saw me yesterday. I'm Thomas Keough, teacher at the Delphian School for many years. Stopped doing that about 7-8 years ago, and now travel and work in our admissions department to introduce the school to different students. But as I've said before, it's really exciting for me to be able to do these webinars again and to teach students newly. Okay, well, let's get started. First, I want to just review a little bit of what we talked about yesterday. First, we're using, just to remind everybody, the ethics book. And I think you have this in your links, so you can pull it up and follow the text along with me. And I'll read through the text today as we go forward. And this is your learning guide to be using today, also from the link that you have. So we're going to continue right where we left off yesterday. We did talk about a couple different things yesterday, good and evil. You know, what's something that's good, what's something that's evil. We talked about making decisions and how you can use reason, which is really defined as thought plus effort, and how you use both of those to make good decisions. And then the reality that, of course, you can make bad decisions, which isn't very good, not very good thoughts or efforts, and then you can make good decisions that help your survival as well. Okay, so with all that done, let's get started today. We're going to start with step 9 on the check sheet here, and I'm just going to review a couple of words that we want to make sure you have understood. The 3 words are urge, drive, and impulse. And quite honestly, they all mean very similar things. They're going to be used in the material we studied today. So urge, you know, an urge essentially is like a strong desire or a push, a strong desire towards a certain direction, or a push that you have towards doing something. And drive, you know, to carry you along, to have an intention that kind of pushes you or your ideas or your actions along in a certain direction. And then impulse is similar, but it's like a motivating factor, something that motivates you to get something done, pushes you in a certain direction towards getting something done. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is pull up here the first part of our reading assignment today. We're starting right where we left off yesterday, which is, there's page 32. I'm going to move it to page 36 here. And here we go. By the way, it's great to have you all here today, and I'm looking forward to teaching you a couple of things that'll help your life be a little bit better if you use them, okay? All right, so it says you can use reason to make decisions about your life. Let's see how that works. The parts of life. So there's a little diagram there. You can see the pie broken up into pieces. When you think about life, you can see that it seems to have different parts to it. In life, people are trying to survive. They are trying to survive as well as they can, and they are trying to survive in several ways. There could be said to be 8 urges, drives, impulses. There's those words, right? 8 urges, drives, impulses in life. These we call dynamics. And we're going to explain what those dynamics are now. Here come the first four. The first dynamic is the urge towards survival as self, as an individual. So just you as an individual. There's a picture of a family and kids. The second dynamic is the urge towards survival through sex or children. This dynamic actually has two divisions. Second dynamic A is the sexual act itself, and second dynamic B is the family unit, including the rearing of children. Rearing, by the way, means to raise. When you have children and your parents help you to grow and learn and survive and then eventually guide you maybe out of the house, then this is the rearing of children. So that's the second dynamic. There's a group like a basketball team, I think. The third dynamic is the urge towards survival through a group of individuals or as a group. Any group or part of an entire class could be considered to be a part of the third dynamic. The school, the club, the team, the town, the nation are examples of groups. Okay, and one more to show you before we do an assignment. So here's the world, as you can see. And now we have the fourth dynamic is the urge towards survival through all mankind as all mankind. So it's the urge towards survival through all mankind as all mankind. Pretty big concept, pretty big group to think about there. Whereas the white race would be considered a third dynamic, all races would be considered the fourth dynamic. Okay, so we're going to stop there. No more reading on, please, because we're going to come now and do a couple of assignments, all right? And it looks like we've got some people coming into the question and answer section already. I'll catch up with you as soon as I can. Well, let's do it now. Hello, Travis. People saying we're there. Great, great, great. I missed yesterday. That's okay. That's all right. You can catch up and just move along today, Milo. And thank you for all your hellos. Appreciate that very much. Just going to move through here. Wasn't here yesterday. That's okay. You will follow along with what we're covering today. Great, great, great. Everybody that was here, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Just moving through here. And hello, Sophie. Nice to see you again. All right. All right, so we have some questions coming in. Let's do a couple of examples. Great on all your interaction and your questions already. Let me give you a couple of examples. Someone said, why is the white race the third dynamic? Is this racist? No, not at all. I mean, this book was written many years ago. It's unintended to be racist at all. We just use that as an example. You could use people from Africa as a third dynamic. You could use the people from Mexico or South America as another third dynamic. You could take any race you wanted and consider it a third dynamic without question, okay? So thank you for that valid question for sure. And hello to everybody, Serena, Ethan, all the people that were here with me yesterday, and Matthias, nice to see you and have you back as well. All right, so now what we're gonna do is sign off. I believe it's today, April 1st. Oh my goodness, no jokes please today, no jokes. We don't need that today. So we're gonna sign off your first two assignments. Now we're going to do step 11. Step 11. So now I want you to put this in the question and answer period. And it says, I'm making it a few less. As usual on the check sheet, on this learning guide, I'm making it less. It says, give 2 examples each of things or activities on the first dynamic, second dynamic, third dynamic, and fourth dynamic. So give 2 examples, at least one, but if you can give 2, that would be great. Each of things or activities on the first dynamic, second dynamic, third dynamic, and fourth dynamic. So I'm going to answer these and share these responses as you share them coming in, okay? And here we go. We have some questions. Why do they call it a race? Well, I think any group of people that has a specific culture would be considered a race. Oh, thank you. It's the 31st. That makes more sense. And then there's no April Fool's jokes today. You know, I should keep these dates closer in mind as I come to give you guys these great webinars, huh? Oh, great, Milo. Wonderful on the book you did. That's excellent. A very good book that shares this information. Hello, hello to everybody. Okay, I'm getting down to your responses soon here. You guys all know the dates and I appreciate it. Okay, so here comes an example, I think, on the first dynamic, practicing singing. Yes, the second dynamic, having a family. Very good, Beth. And very good. Beth also says making a group. Yeah, making a group. What kind of group, though, I guess? Like, is this somewhere at work or something with your school group or maybe a sports group, which that could be a third dynamic. All right, so I'm still waiting here to get you guys to come in with some more examples. Thank you on clarifying for the date for me. I must admit it's the second time in my webinars that I forgot the date, but that's all right. There could be bigger things to forget, more important things to forget. All right, so I'm looking for examples each of things and activities on the first dynamic, which was self, the second dynamic, family, the sexual act, the third dynamic, which is groups. This could be sports teams, your school, your academic class. It could be a club that you're in. And then your fourth dynamic, which is mankind as all of mankind. So let's keep these examples coming in. Great. So Amjad says, taking care of my body. I agree. And then Beth says, inviting all race or races into your group. I think that's very good. And that's kind of an idea of like the fourth dynamic where you're including all of mankind. And Siobhan says, first dynamic, eating, going to the gym, getting a haircut, going to a job interview. That's exactly right. And then when you go to the job interview, you're coming to a company, and the company itself is a third dynamic, yeah? Writing in a journal, very true, very good. And Mariah says, first dynamic, oh no, social isolation. Yeah, physical distancing, the situation that we have going on right now. That's very true. The beauty there is, though, I think you're also getting some more time with family. So there's a first dynamic activity and growth there, and then there's also a second dynamic activity as well. Ethan says, examples on the first dynamics are growing food for you to eat. Second dynamic would be finding a person to spend your life with. Very good. Third dynamic could be a baseball team such as the Giants. Go Giants. I'm a big A's fan, but I like the Giants too. And the fourth dynamic could be said to be the earth with all the people. Excellent. And your answers are flowing in here. Let's see if we can get to them all. Could I repeat the first two dynamics briefly because I came in late? Yes, I'll do that very quickly. I'm not going to pull it back up on the book and on the screen, but I will read them very quickly. Here we go. The first dynamic. The first dynamic is the urge towards survival of self as an individual. The second dynamic is the urge towards survival through sex or children. This dynamic actually has two divisions. Second dynamic, A, is the sexual act itself, and second dynamic, B, is the family unit, including the rearing or the raising of children. So first dynamic, self, and then second dynamic, family, and having kids. Okay, good. Making money, somebody says. Very good. Naomi says, being kind to people of other races. I agree very much. And Amjad says, cutting my nails. That's true. That's a first dynamic activity, right? Excellent, guys. Siobhan says, going on a date, getting married, taking care of your children, family game night, buying a home for your family. All of those are excellent second dynamic ideas, or activities, we should say. All right. Taking care of yourself, feeding your family, which is a second dynamic activity. This is from Serena. To be friendly with people in your group, which would be a nice third dynamic activity. And to make sure that all races are getting along. I love it. That's kind of moving over into the fourth dynamic. The idea that all races and all people are equal. I think that's a big fourth dynamic activity. And Anjali says, playing hockey and working out and feeding your body for the first dynamic. Excellent. You guys' examples are so good. Ginger, being good to my body on my first dynamic. I love it. And my mom homeschooling me, says Mariah. This is an excellent second dynamic activity that also affects your first dynamic, right? Because it's helping you as well. So if we start thinking about it, the idea is that our activities and our actions don't just affect self. They can affect self, family, a group, the bigger world that we live in. And we're going to get into that concept in just a little bit. Okay, guys, I may or may not be able to get through all your great examples, but let's see. I help my mom. I love my sister, says Amjad. Excellent. Joining a fraternity or a club. Marriage, says Sarah. I agree. I agree. Okay, guys, I'm skipping over a few examples. I'm sorry in the interest of time. So I'm just going to move forward here a little bit. Matthias says, spending time with your children. Very true. Very true. And practicing with my soccer team, says Mariah. That's an excellent third dynamic activity. Excellent third dynamic activity. Okay, so let's move through a couple more that we haven't maybe discussed yet. Would a family be considered a third dynamic? Is a good question. Not really. You know, we don't need to split hairs here, but a family is the second dynamic because you have the mom, the dad, the child, the rearing of the family, the raising of the family. It is a group, obviously, but we're making a difference in concept. Now, the third dynamic, every family member would have different third dynamics that they are naturally a part of. So it's a great question, and it's its own special dynamic, the family is. Donating to organizations that help mankind, such as the Way to Happiness, a drug-free world, says Siobhan. That's exactly right. Those are each third dynamic activities, and that could be a fourth dynamic urge as well. Arabella says, caring for people, teamwork, and being nice to all people, and never discriminating, which could be a fourth dynamic activity. That's true. Studying hard. I like that, Beth. I like that. A very good first dynamic activity. Okay, got you, Angela. Your name is Sarah. Thank you. All right, so we're going to move on a little bit. Someone says, what are the third and fourth dynamics? Well, you must have come in, the same person that maybe came in late. All right, let's just read them over. And then I'm going to move on to the next step. And hopefully you have the text. If you can read from the text, it'll show you this is the third dynamic on page 44. The third dynamic is the urge towards survival through a group of individuals or as a group. Any group or part of an entire class would be considered to be a part of the third dynamic. The school, the club, the team, the town, the nations are examples of groups. The fourth dynamic is the urge towards survival through all mankind as all mankind, whereas the white race would be considered a third dynamic, or any race, could be the African race, could be the Mexicans, could be anybody from South America, could be any race. So that would be considered a third dynamic. All races would be considered the fourth dynamic. Okay, so now the next step I want you to do, and I'm sorry that I can't get to all of your examples because we got to keep moving forward in time. I want you to demonstrate. So here you go. Here's your demonstrated kit. Here you have your kit at home. Or you could have examples of this around you. And if you have your mother, father, or big sister partnering with you on the homeschool, you could act out or tell them or show them these examples. So demonstrate, show, or find an example. You don't have to write it to me of the first dynamic, the second dynamic, the third dynamic, and the fourth dynamic. So if you can do that at home real quick, that would be great. And I will briefly try to catch up on some of your examples while we're doing this. You do the drills. Helping the homeless, that's excellent. Okay, so I hope we answered your question. Not being racist, that's exactly right. That would be a very smart fourth dynamic activity. Okay. Okay, my name is Azaya. Okay, got it. Maybe you should just put that when you write your answers, or else I'm just going to read what your mother says. Someone says, I don't have a kid. That's all right. You'll survive. You can just maybe look for examples around you or give your mother or father an example. Okay, here we go. Moving forward. Someone says Narcanon. That's a drug-free program. And that would be its own third dynamic activity, an excellent group as well. Helping your parents would be a nice second dynamic activity that you're doing yourself. Okay. So helping the whole human race is a very good example of a fourth dynamic activity. And the challenge, I think, is to figure out, how can we do that? What activities do we have where we could do that to help others? All right. Okay, so using your demo kit or examples in your life around you, like in the room or something you can tell your mother or your father who's with you. Let's give some demonstrated examples of in real life or around you of the first dynamic, the second dynamic, the third dynamic, and the fourth dynamic. And you don't have to write them up. Your examples so far have been really, really good. I can see many of you have a really good concept of this dynamic. So this is very good. Okay, as you go through those examples, I'm going to wait just a minute, and then we're going to read the next section, which will tell you about more dynamics and some big concepts, actually. So these first 4 ones were a little bit easier, in my opinion, and these next ones are beautiful to imagine and to understand. Okay, I'm assuming you guys have managed to do this. Someone says, can I see you? No, unfortunately, in this program we're using, we cannot. But I hope you can see me, right? You can see me. Okay, someone says, well, I'm not sure if I can answer that question, so I'm going to move on there. Helping your parents, excellent, says Travis. A lovely second dynamic activity. Obviously involving yourself too. If you're helping your parents, that's a direct second dynamic activity, and you're doing it, so yourself is creating that activity. Okay, so let's move on now. I'm going to read the next section just in the interest of time here. And here we go. All right, so now we're going to go on to the next 4 dynamics, and I hope you guys are ready. So here you see a guy playing with a dog. So the 5th dynamic. These are just 8 parts of life to help you break it down and understand life a little bit easier. The 5th dynamic is the urge toward survival through life. Forms such as animals, birds, insects, fish, and vegetation, and is the urge to survive as these. So we are humans, and we survive through life forms beyond ourselves, such as animals, birds, insects, fish, and vegetation. And then we have the urge to survive as these. Another one. People also use things that are not alive to help them survive. This includes machines and electricity and rain and other parts of things that aren't alive. These are all part of the physical universe. The physical universe. Tables, books, pins, the demo kit, physical universe. The 6th dynamic is the urge toward survival as the physical universe. The physical universe is made of matter, energy, space, and time. So we're not going to get too much into physics here, but the world around us has those 4 parts to it. Matter, physical stuff, energy, electricity, space, the space around us, and time. Tick tock, tick tock. So there's a house showing you that. And then it has a note there. Sometimes the word MEST, standing for M-E-S-T, is used to mean physical universe or a part of it, because you have the letters matter, M, energy, E, space, S, and time, T. Most people believe that they will continue to survive when their bodies die, because they are not a body, but a spirit. So notice it says most. We all have our own individual beliefs, and that's completely okay. No one wants to suggest one or the other. But most people believe that they will continue to survive when their bodies die, because they are not a body, but a spirit. The 7th dynamic is the urge toward survival through spirits or as a spirit. 7th dynamic is the urge toward survival through spirits or as a spirit. The 7th dynamic includes the desire to survive through ideas and concepts such as beauty. Now let me give you a little example just to help that. Let's say there's a beautiful art painting. Well, the art painting, if it's physically, it has paint, it has a frame, it has a canvas, and that is the MEST universe. And of course, an individual created that painting. However, the painting represents beauty and represents art, and it gives you an idea or a concept. You could consider that that could be part of the 7th dynamic. It's a little bit my opinion, but I think that's a good example. Okay, the final one here on the dynamics, infinity means not ending or going on without stopping. Most people have an idea of something which is infinite, which is called God or the supreme being. Again, that's just a personal belief, and anyone can have their own concept of what God may be or that there is not a God. This is okay. But the 8th dynamic is the urge toward existence as infinity. This could be called the infinity or God dynamic. What I like about that is if you don't have a personal belief in God, you can have the concept of infinity, never ending. Time is endless, life is endless, things go on forever. And that gives you that part of the 8th dynamic. Okay, so here we go. The 8 dynamics are all parts of life, but they are not totally separate. What you do on one dynamic affects your other dynamics. Okay, and we're going to get into that in just a little bit. But right now, we're going to move on to our next assignment. So big concepts, we'll come back to a couple of those if you need to. I'm going to go ahead and sign off with the correct date. Step 13. All right. So step 14 is now another assignment which you can put into the question and answer box. And I will read it out to you here in just a second, but it is give 2 examples, or at least 1. Give me some examples. I said 2. You just give me some examples of things or activities on the 5th dynamic, 6th dynamic, 7th dynamic, and 8th dynamic. Nobody said this is going to be easy. Do your best. I'll read your examples, and if I can offer an opinion or a view on them, I will. But I hope you can understand them and give me some good examples. So I'm going to catch up on some of the other ones. I'm going to move through a few of them if we've already discussed similar things. By the way, earlier, Milo, who I don't think I answered one of yours before. Can I hear you? No. Who came up with the dynamics? Well, that's a great question. The dynamics are just a part of life. This is a works that's done from, this is taken from the works of L. Ron Hubbard. So in some ways you could say he did. He isolated these and wrote about them and talked about them. I think but basically the dynamics are just part of life. You know, to a certain degree, you and I did, because they are there. You cannot argue the fact that this is a part of what we're doing in our everyday life. Someone said for the 5th, animals, 6, matter, 7, spirit, 8, God. Excellent. Those are good understandings of it. Now see if you can give me some examples. Beth said playing with your pet. I love it. That's excellent for the 5th dynamic. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Your examples are rolling in, guys. This is really good. Helping your pets. Ah, very good, Travis. Very good. Playing with your pet, says Beth. Staying in your house or playing with toys. Solving problems or painting something. And then practicing a religion. I think that's very true. So those last 2 are kind of moving into the 7th and 8th dynamic. Excellent. Naomi says, I'm confused. I'm so sorry. If you can tell me a little bit of your confusion, I'll see if I can solve it here. And Naomi, you can always send me an email at events@delphian.org, and I'll help you sort out your confusion as well. Mariah says, eating vegetables. Excellent. Eating meat, chicken, etc., says Sarah, for the 5th. Correct. Lots of great examples rolling through here, guys. How are we doing on time? Okay, good. And 5th dynamic, getting a dog or cat or having a plant or a fish or a garden. Excellent. Here is from Ethan. For the 8th dynamic, it would include the idea of there being gods and goddesses of different things. Yes, like in the old Greek mythology, that could be very true. And today, you could have any of you. Practicing meditation for the 1st. Correct. And because of the nature of meditation, I think that would also fall over Isaiah. Is that Isaiah? No. Krish, if I have that right. That would fall over into the 7th dynamic as well. Lots of great examples coming through here. I'm not going to be able to get to them all. My mom and dad work at a church, and I've done some courses there at my friends. That would be a good 7th dynamic activity. Surviving with cars, driving cars, exactly. Being a car racer could be a great example. I love painting, says Amjad. I love painting in the museum and going to the museum. And this would be an example of a great 7th dynamic activity. I love it. Okay, let me see if I can move forward. The Christian religion, 7th. Exactly, very true. And in the Christian religion, there is a belief of Jesus and the God, right? So this would be also embracing or including your 8th dynamic. Here is Serena says, to help my animals on the 5th, 6th, to make sure your house is clean, to paint and express, excellent for the 7th, and the 8th, to believe in a religion. I love your examples, guys. Really, really good. Okay, so let me just look here. Okay, so we're going to move on, and the reason is we're kind of pressed for time. So I want to make sure that we can keep going forward. The next step, which you can do, which I'm going to keep reading some of your examples while you do it, is another demonstration. So again, use your demo kit, use the demo kit, or around you in your environment, talking with your family. Let's find or demonstrate or give an example, not to me, but in your environment here, of the 5th dynamic, 6th dynamic, 7th dynamic, and 8th dynamic. So go ahead and do that, and I'll read a couple more examples here. I'll see if I've got some that I haven't seen before, we haven't been talking about. All you guys, I want to acknowledge, many people have great examples here of like playing with your pets, working on a garden, maybe painting a picture, which would be a 7th dynamic activity, following a religion, and this would be a beautiful 7th and 8th dynamic activity. because usually religions have a belief in God or a belief that life will go on for a long, long time. Definitely eating fruits and vegetables is a great example. Okay, let's keep moving here. Yes, any belief in a God or a higher being is dynamic. You got it. That's exactly right. Okay. Did you see mine? Serena, I did. I'm not sure. I gave you your example. I hope that was good. Using things like fridges, cars, and electronics, Annabella says. It's great. I really agree with you there. Writing poetry is a 7th dynamic activity. I agree with you so much. Thank you for sharing that. I'm moving quickly, not through all the names here. So sorry, just in the interest of time. Expressing your feelings through dance. That's something we hadn't heard. Nice example, Sarah. That could be a beautiful 7th dynamic activity. And here is from Sarah also the 8th dynamic, the Christian religion or Buddhism. And going to the temple says Grish. So those are both 8 dynamic activities. That's great. Someone else says similar. Believing in heaven. Very good. That is an 8 dynamic activity. Very, very true. Okay, so we're going to move on. I think here, let me just see. Yeah, any belief in a higher power, well said. And someone said, my dad used to go to Delphi. Great, Milo. Great, Milo. I love it. Okay, so let's move on here to the next step. So let me sign off as if you have done the demonstration. And now we're going to read the next steps out of the book, okay? We have to move along here because we have lunch and someone's going to come up behind me as well. Okay, so this is now decisions. This is now bringing all the information we just covered on dynamics into a topic of decisions. Here we go. In life, you make decisions about what to do. These decisions affect your dynamics. Should I clean my room? He thinks. I don't know. Pass the ball. Try for a basket. What do I do here? Stay home, go out. Especially if there's homework, this might be a tougher decision. Should I plant a garden? Interesting example. Especially now when we have more time at home, I'm hearing a lot of people doing things like gardens. Should I pay for this gum? Yeeks. That's a good question. These are all personal decisions. They are made by you, right? They are made by you. Okay. So let me think here. Yeah. So I'm going to move forward and read the next section right now. And then we're going to do some question and answer here for a little bit. Okay, so how can you make the best decisions? How can you make the best decisions? You use reason, of course. And remember, we talked about reason before, which is thought plus effort. You use reason. You use your common sense. With reason, you can predict what might happen. If I don't clean my room, I won't be able to find things. Or my mom or dad might get upset at me. I added that one, right? But mostly it's for your own purpose. I want to be able to find things. I want things to be kept safe or protected or in good order. Okay, let me just make sure I'm not speeding too far ahead. There we go. If people didn't pay for things, the store would have to close. I'd better buy this. Okay, that's a good reason, thought process there. Better to pass, I'd probably miss the basket from here. And the last one, with reason, you can succeed, okay? All right, so we're gonna come to the other section in just a minute. So now I'm gonna give you an assignment here. So what I want you to do is now, in the question and answer, is give me an essay or examples of how you would use reason to make decisions about what to do. Give me a couple of examples. In this case, connect them to your dynamics, because the idea here is we just learned about the 8 parts of life. So how would you, from your own life here, make a decision that affects your dynamics, and you would use reason to do that. You would use reason to do that, okay? All right, so let's move on to the questions, and they're just rolling in, which is beautiful. So give me an example or two of how you could use reason here to really affect your decision in your life. And now you're thinking about the dynamics, right? So this would be Beth who says, if I passed the ball better in soccer, then we could make goals. I read that a little bit differently. Using reason to decide how do I make decisions in gymnastics when I'm practicing that. That's excellent. Deciding to go to school. Excellent. And you got to think, so how many dynamics does that decision help? If I go to school, I'm helped personally, first dynamic. It supports my family because I can be a better or more involved part of the family, second dynamic. It helps my group, which is the school, and maybe a few other groups in the school. Maybe it helps my seventh because of ideas that I get, right? Maybe you do some things at school that has to do with other life forms, so it might benefit that dynamic, right? Your fifth dynamic. And of course, when you go to school, maybe you do things to help the school out. So I could use reason to decide whether or not to do my homework or watch TV. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And start thinking about what dynamics that might affect, right? Should I sleep in, says Naomi, using reason. Would that be a good decision or a bad decision? And what dynamics might that affect in a bad way, right? To pass the ball or not when I'm playing basketball. Sharina says, whether I should go to basketball if I'm sick or stay home so I don't get anyone else sick. That's an excellent example, especially now that's a big deal with the concern about staying home and the virus. But if I feel a little bit ill, do I go because I want to play basketball? But actually, maybe I'm making somebody else open to getting my disease or my germ, should I say. Okay, great. Breaking into somebody's house and that alarm would go off. Well, that wouldn't be a really good reason. That would negatively affect many of the dynamics, right? Annabella says, deciding to clean my room, deciding not to spend all of my money, and deciding to eat and choose healthy. Excellent. Excellent. Should I clean my room or play on my phone, says one student. That's excellent. And Sarah, deciding to stand up for those who aren't doing so well. Wow, that takes some courage and some real work, doesn't it? Should I spend money on a water gun, or if I spent the money on a water gun, I won't be able to buy things that are better for me. It's a great example. Sometimes we want a toy and it gives us short-term happiness, but maybe we need something for better survival. And here is Siobhan. Let's say I feel like going to work because I wasn't feeling well. Should I go? I might need the money, but if I am sick, I might get others sick. Very good example, kind of like we talked about before. Going to college or not going to college, a huge decision to make. Very smart, a long-term survival decision too. Okay, good. So now we're going to cover the next section. Those are all great examples. I may get to the last ones in a little bit, but we have a few more pages to read and one more assignment, and then one homework assignment, so bear with me. Okay, so here we go. Let's sign that off. Okay, now there's two words I want to define that are step 20 here. Rationality. This is going to be used in our reading right here. Rationality is using reason, being rational. You could say using your common sense, right? Using the information you have to hand to make a logical or sensible decision. And collectively, which means taking several parts all together as a group. When I make a decision across my dynamics, it's going to involve more than one dynamic. Or if I'm making a decision to help things in my office, in a meeting, we might collectively make a decision or vote on something, right? This is how laws are done. You collectively vote. So it's a group together making choices. How do you do this? So there's a special word for using reason to survive well. The word is ethics. Well, this is called the ethics book. So we've gotten to that key point there. Ethics. Ethics are reason. Ethics actually consists of rationality toward the highest level of survival for the individual, the future race, the group, mankind, and the other dynamics taken up collectively. So there we go, collectively, all of them together, and consists of rationality. So reason, using reason, basically. Ethics actually consists of rationality toward the highest level of survival for the individual, the future race, the group, mankind, and the other dynamics taken up collectively. Reason is your greatest weapon. If you use reason in your life, you will do things that help your dynamics. Then you can say your ethics are in, like not out, but in. If you do not use reason, you can do things to harm your dynamics. Uh-oh, not helping the girl. Then you would say, then your ethics are out. Okay, so that's a couple of big concepts. Now, what I'd like you to do, if you have someone in the room, or you have your demonstration kit here. Could you demonstrate the subject of ethics? And if you want to share it with me in a 1-line or 2-line note in the question and answer period, you could. Just your concept now of ethics, which we just defined before. This is the last thing we're going to discuss today, and then I'm going to give you a homework assignment that is available from the Learning Guide. Here we go. So I'm going to try to catch up. So again, the assignment is demonstrate using the demo kit or talking to your family member there, or if you want to put it here, you can, using ethics to survive. What is the concept and an example of ethics? Making sandwiches for other people is what someone says. That's excellent. Very good. Okay. Could I define rationality again, says Sarah? Yeah, I don't have it described right here, but my concept of it is being rational, making sensible decisions, using reason. When we see information around us and we know kind of what's the sensible decision that's going to help ourselves, help other things in our life, that's being rational. If you think I'm going to steal that piece of gum, that's not very rational. If you see a spill and you're walking along and no one is cleaning up that spill, well, then it would be rational for you to stop, find some paper towels, wipe it up, and make sure nobody slips on that spill. So that would be my definition of rational in a couple of examples. So if you choose to give a homeless person food instead of being rude to them, this would be a great example of ethics. I love it. I love it. Helping the elderly cross the road. These are great examples. This is now ethics pointed. I love it. I'm sorry if you don't have the guide or book. The only thing I can say is grab it up on the link. All right, a few more examples. Don't talk about other people behind their backs and don't lie. Great examples of using ethics to make good decisions. Deciding to look after little kids. I love it, especially if they need your care and your help, huh? Great examples. So this is Krish says, my concept of ethics is to stop littering and picking up trash. I love it. It's a great, great example. Okay, a few more examples and we're coming to the end here on our time limit, but nobody's after me. It's just lunch, so maybe we'll take just a couple extra minutes. So Arabella says ethics. Seeing somebody getting hurt and don't walk away from them, but help them, or breaking up a fight. Great examples. Do something about it when you see it. Doing the right thing, helping somebody. That's exactly right. This is Siobhan. Even if it's not my job and it's needed, I would do it. I love it. I love it. Maybe giving something you don't need to someone who needs it, says Sarah. Great example. I think we have things in our house and room that sometimes we don't realize not important to us, but maybe somebody else could use them. Get the toy your son has been saving the money for. Okay, that sounds very good. That sounds very good. All right, well, a lot of good examples of ethics, I think. Oh, here comes some more. Helping a blind person. I love that. I love that. Help others when they're in need. Don't just walk away. Helping my grandparents. Don't laugh when people get hurt. That's a great example. I think we have that sometimes as a reaction, but it's harmful and it doesn't hurt anybody. It doesn't help anybody. Donating food to a food bank. Guys, your examples are really, really good. And we got to kind of stay on schedule here to get you and me and everybody to lunch to have you ready for the next webinar. So now I'm going to give you your practical assignment. And I hope you have the learning guide, because this is an important one and it's also not too short. So I'm going to read it out loud to you twice, and then you can make notes if you don't have the learning guide. And I want you to send your assignment in to events@delphian.org. Or if you have a mother or father there and you want to do the assignment and then show it to them and they can check it off for you, that would be fine with me as well. But I'm here and available to answer you at events@delphian.org. Step 23 from the learning guide, practical. Think of an important situation in your life where you need to make a decision that will affect how well you are surviving. Make your decision with your ethics in. In other words, use ethics here to make this decision and do what you decided to do. So this isn't something from the past. This isn't imaginary. This is now real life. Something in your life where you need to make a decision that will affect your survival. Make your decision using ethics, which is looking at all the dynamics, and do what you decided to do. Write down what that situation was and why or how you decided as you did. And basically what we want to see is that you applied the concept of ethics. It doesn't have to be a giant situation, but that you use the idea of ethics and the dynamics and making a decision to help several or the majority of those dynamics so that you had your ethics in. Okay, so I hope you understood that, and I hope you will do that assignment. As I say, you can show it to your parents or share it with me at events@delphian.org. You know, this has been great to be here again today. I can't tell you what my next webinar will be, by the way. I'm not scheduled for anything more this week, but I'm hoping to be a part of it. Oh, Siobhan, thank you. Don't make me cry. I love to teach again. She says, great class. Thank you very much. Let me say to you that thank you guys, because I'm just here one individual. But without the 35, 40 people that are participating in this webinar, that is nothing. You are the class. You are what makes the class, you know, enjoyable, interactive, and valuable to me, and I hope they're valuable to you. So next up is coming a webinar. I believe it is at 1:30, Fun with Algebra. Fun with Algebra at 1:30. So grab your lunch, maybe a little bit of free time, and then be ready for the next webinar. And thank you very, very much for joining us today. I'm going to end off now. I think I need to just share one thing before I do, which is this screen. And I hope we had a great day today, guys. Goodbye.